Hi, my name is Andrew from Venture Medley, and if you're clicking on this video, it's because you've probably tried to use AI to create automated content for your SEO efforts and realized this doesn't work. It's never going to rank. So your next step was, well, at least I can automate my content briefs. So you tried that as well, and not the results you were looking for. That's because most people do it wrong. They try to do it all in one step with one prompt in their LLM of choice, and that's not the right way to do it. You want to break it up into steps. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you how to use automation software, specifically make.com. We're going to use Perplexity for research. We're going to use Claude to generate our content. We're going to put everything together in Make, export it to a Google Docs folder. And best of all, we're going to launch everything out of an Airtable dashboard, where you just put all your keywords in and there'll be a button. So when you click Generate Brief, all this gets done automatically and the completed brief gets added to your dashboard for you. All right, so the brief we're going to be creating is for a local plumbing company, as you can see. And our brief is going to be a little different than most because typically local businesses come up with really crappy generic blog content that never really ranks well in the organic search, and it doesn't help their map presence either. Typically because it's missing a few important elements that Google wants to see. First, they want to see a unique angle, right? Everyone's kind of writing the same thing with the same subheadings. So Google wants to see that you're covering different topic gaps and introducing new perspectives that the reader might be thinking and hasn't found somewhere else. So if you're able to do that, you're going to do really good in the search results. So that's what we're doing here. Well, I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's what the outline does. And then we're also introducing a hyperlocal aspect, right? If you're trying to rank somewhere locally, say Miami, then your blog content should have references to neighborhoods, the unique climate in Miami, unique situations to living in Miami, local landmarks, things like that. That's going to give a signal to Google that you really know your area and that you're an expert in that area and that you should rank higher. So that's what we do here. A lot of writers aren't going to know what to write about because they're not from that area or they don't do enough research. So we give them some jumping off points here so that they can definitely add that in very easily. Next thing is suggested external links. We're going to do that as well. That's another signal that you're giving to Google. If you're linking to local government organizations or local events, even local news or media, that's again another signal that you're basically identifying yourself with those sites, and kind of Google's going to group you together. Finally, expert perspective is something we're giving to the writers here. Google really values expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So if you have an expert in your company, maybe the owner or someone high up, who can add, again, a unique angle, something that only they would be able to really tell you, that's going to help you rank even better as well. But typically these people are pretty busy, so they're not going to sit there and read a whole article and try to figure out what they can add. So we're giving them, again, some jumping off points for how they can improve the article for us. Finally, at the bottom, we just have the content. This is where the writer can add it. But yeah, this is the brief, and let's get into how we're going to create it. All right, so I've showed you guys what the final output looks like. You've seen the content brief itself. This is Make, and this is how everything gets created behind the scenes. So basically it all begins in your Airtable. You're going to have this dashboard with different columns for different data points. Most importantly is your keyword and this button, okay? So it all starts when I click on this button. What happens is there's this thing called a webhook that's listening. That's the trigger. When that gets pushed, it knows to grab the keyword from the Airtable and to start this flow or this automation, okay? The first thing that happens is we pass that keyword into Perplexity and we ask it to go and look at the top ranking articles for that keyword, right? So it goes through, let's say, 5 articles, grabs all their subheadings and combines all of that into an outline, okay? Now we pass that outline into Anthropic and we tell it, hey, look at this outline and find the topic gaps, see what perspectives haven't been covered and what we can add to this to give it more depth. And then in the next step, we ask it to combine the article as well as its topic gap analysis into our preliminary outline. That's what you see in the blog content, in the content brief. So the next one is the hyperlocal aspect that I told you. We give it that outline and we say, hey, given this outline, find different ways to hyperlocalize this content, tie it into local elements, etc. And finally, there's that the expert side that we said, coming up with those questions that only an expert would have the insight into. This last part is where we're trying to come up with those internal links. We're asking it to go in and find things from local government organizations that are related to the keyword. Then this last step here is a Google document template. It's basically a Google Doc with a bunch of placeholders, and make is going to take the output from each of these modules and plug it into the right place in that template so you get the content brief that you saw earlier. So that's the basic bones of it. Let's go in and see how we can build this ourselves. All right, so let's get started creating this. The first thing you're going to want to do is make an account on make.com, and you're going to create a new scenario, and you can leave it blank for now. We'll jump back to this. Also, make sure you have your Airtable account set up, and what you're going to do is come down here and create a new base from scratch. You can name it whatever you like. Let's call it Content Builder, if I could type. And change the table name to something like keywords. Okay, so you have these columns you don't need. Let's change it to what we do need. We need keywords, so that will be this one. Let's remove notes, assignee, and status, because we don't need those right now. You can always add those back in later if they're columns that you do want. What we are going to need is a field called record ID. And a record ID is a unique identifier that Airtable gives to each of these rows. And it already exists, it's automatically created, it's just not displaying right now. And we need that to display. So we're going to use formula and type in record ID. This is the one you're looking for right here. Click that and close the final parentheses. Call this record ID and then create the field, and you should see those appear, and they do. So that's working properly. And now we also are going to need that button that you saw earlier. So let's add the button field. Let's call it button. The label, this is what you want it to say. So I want mine to say generate brief. I prefer a different style. I went with this one. And then open URL. So right now, put two quotations, and for now, just put test.com. We're going to go into make.com and grab a URL that we're going to put in here. Okay, right now, this is good to go. Let's add a keyword in here. Unclog a drain. Okay, perfect. Let's go into make.com now and start our automation. Start building our automation, I should say. The first thing you need is this webhook. And like I said, this is a trigger. Basically, it listens for that button push in Airtable so that it can start the whole flow. Custom webhook is the one you're looking for. Careful not to choose mailhook. Here you're going to want to add a new one or create and call it, you can call it whatever you want. You can leave the default, so I'll do that and save it. Okay, so now it's going to give you a URL, and it's going to have this little icon that's moving, right? Like it's waiting for something. And what you're going to want to do is copy this address to your clipboard. Before you click save, go back into your dashboard and click edit field on the button column. And this is what we're going to add down here. All right, so replace test.com with the URL that you just copied. And then you need to add a few things so that we can pass that parameter. We need to add a question mark and then say record ID equals. And then the other side of this, put a question mark and type all lowercase or lowercase record and then capital ID. Okay, so it should look like this. It should be purple. If you did anything wrong, it does say invalid formula here, so I'm a little scared. Sorry, this question mark should be an ampersand. This is the trickiest part. I have literally messed up like 7 times doing this just to record this video. Before I recorded it, I blew it even more times. So please make sure you type it exactly the same or you will get screwed like me and want to slam your head through a wall. Okay, now you have that done. The webhook is still waiting for this information, so we need to make sure you click the button as well. So you click that button, you get this little pop-up that it was accepted, the webhook ran, and over here, successfully determined the little module is finally happy with me. Or so I would believe. We'll find out. Next, you want to create a second one to create that little window, or I'm sorry, to close that little window whenever it gets created. So we'll add a script that says window.close, parentheses, close script. And then let's add in our Airtable. When I get a record, we're trying to grab that row and the keyword from within that row. And you just connect it. It's very easy. You just log in and it'll be connected. Content builder. And then your keywords. And if all went right, we have a record ID that we can pull here. If you don't see that there, you messed up on the previous step. So go back and watch it very carefully. That's where I was stuck forever. So click save and that's good to go. So now we're able to grab that keyword and we're able to pass that into our LLMs, which is the next step, right? We're gonna add Perplexity and we'll come up with a nice prompt to get the information we're looking for. Okay, so before you can start setting up your prompt and everything, you're gonna have to create your Perplexity connection. So you'll go here, just click add, and it's gonna ask you for an API key. Now that's really easy to find. If you have never done that before, just go to your Perplexity, click on settings, click on API, and you'll see a little section that says API keys where you can generate a new one and copy and paste it. Copy and paste that into where it asks you for it here, and then you'll see all of this, which is where you can start setting up your prompts. Now there's different types of, first of all, messages is what you're looking for. You're gonna wanna add a message, and this is basically your prompt, right? There's different prompts. There's a system prompt and a user prompt. A system prompt gives kind of like a broader explanation to the LLM of what their role is, right? So in this case, we wanna give it something like this. You're a web researcher that specializes in extracting subheadings from sources and organizing them into an outline, right? That's just general purpose. Please only give me the information I require and don't preface your output with introductory text like etc. Now that's important because we're gonna take the output of this and we're gonna feed that into another LLM prompt. So we don't want all this extra text that we don't need. So that is the system prompt, but we're also gonna add another item, which is our user prompt, and this is more specific. This is like the specific thing we're asking for, right? So what are the main subheadings being used by the top ranking articles in Google for the query XYZ, right? So this is what we want to interpolate into there. So we want to grab the keyword from Airtable and put it in between these quotes, okay? And click save. So let's see now if this whole thing runs and what it gives us. We're gonna click run once, and it starts listening. Nothing happens immediately because this webhook has not been triggered yet, right? So you need to go into here and click generate brief to see what's happening. Okay, so now you see these bubbles popping up and it's working, right? The record was grabbed and now you can see that Perplexity is thinking through it. Okay, so let's see what happened here. If you click on this bubble, you can look for the output, right? Output, choices, one, gotta dig deep there for it. Here are the main subheadings used by top ranking articles. Okay, so it didn't listen to our instructions. It's still adding this little introductory stuff, so we're gonna have to go ahead and tweak that. But in general, it did a pretty good job of giving us, what the top websites are ranking or writing about for how to unclog a drain. All right, so let's set up our next one, which is gonna be Claude. We use Perplexity when we're doing some kind of web search. When we have information and we're trying to rework it and we just need a regular workhorse LLM, Claude is the one I go to. Create a connection here. All right, with your API key now in hand, plug it in, connection created. God, you're so good at this. I would change mine to Sonnet. Depends what your budget is, how much you want to spend. Max tokens, I'm not great at this. I put 2,000, it's a nice, good number. This is a user prompt, so you gotta highlight that first, you gotta set that, and then we can add our prompt. You have different types, right? But we're doing a text prompt, straightforward. And okay, so let's see what we can write in here. All right, your goal is to help me find topic gaps in an outline. Based on the outline provided, what are some of the clarifying questions a homeowner might have? Please think of unique angles that haven't been covered yet in the outline. Don't stray far from the topic of the outline, because keep in mind, we're gonna be creating other articles in a pillar page strategy, cluster strategy, so we don't wanna just go too far in terms of breadth of the article, right? So again, we're gonna pass it the keyword. We're gonna pass it the keyword. Oh, there she is. And we're gonna give it the outline that we created in Perplexity, right? So that's, where was it again? All the way buried at the bottom of 1 million clicks. Content. Here are the main subheadings used. Unfortunately, it has that little introductory. And again, we're gonna ask it, please don't preface the introductory text with etc., right? Also, don't do anything at the end of it, like these questions added depth, etc., blah, 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 right? You get the idea. We just want what we want. So hopefully that worked. And let's add one more, which is going to combine the topic analysis with our initial prompt and give us the outline, which is the first section of our content brief. We'll create another prompt, do another 2,000 max tokens. You're welcome, Anthropic. You're getting rich off of me. User prompt. And let's see what prompt we come up with here. Okay, so here's our prompt again. Your task is to combine my research into an SEO optimized outline for a given target keyword, which we need to pass in. Again, you should be getting used to this by now. Bring in keywords right there. And then you give it an example of what you want out of your outline, right? You want a title with an H1 that incorporates the target keyword as early as possible. Subheadings, using H2s, using semantic keywords that actually have potential search volume. That's really important. Please use my initial research as a suggestion for these. Bullet points under each H2 to provide a brief overview of key points that should be covered. You can change this to whatever you want. Depends the kind of outline that you're looking for, right? And then please incorporate subtopics from my topic gap research into these bullet points. So take the original outline, take the topic gaps, mash them together, okay? And then we give it the initial research and we give it the topic gap research. Again, we beg it, don't give me the introductory text, please listen to me. Let's see what happens now when we run. And again, we're going to generate brief. And we wait. All right, it's done running. Let's take a look at our output. Well, actually, we need to look at all of our outputs because we haven't combined all of it yet into one, right? So Perplexity gives us this. Wow, this time it didn't preface it, so it did work. That's perfect. Subheadings from top ranking articles. Boom, bang, bing. That looks good. What about the topic gap analysis? Beautiful. What should I do if I can't identify where the clog is located? Nice. When should I call a professional plumber? What should I do if multiple drains are clogged simultaneously? Probably just get a new house. But anyway, finally, let's see how it combined the two together. The mashup, the ultimate test of Anthropic's thinking abilities. Did it do a good job? Look at that outline. Your writer is probably trembling with fear that he has to write all this, but it's very thorough. It's great. How to unclog a drain, complete guide, understanding drains, essential tools for drain unclogging, plunging techniques, natural and DIY solutions, advanced drain cleaning methods when you have multiple ones, specific drains you have to unclog, when to call a plumber, and preventing future drain clogs. I'm very happy with that. It's definitely better than the original outline that Perplexity put. So yeah, I think that's ready to go into the... All right, so we're cooking so far. We got the outline complete. It looks great. We just need to add the hyperlocal to it, and we need to add the expert questions and bring it all into the template so that we have the brief. But before we do that, I just wanted to take a quick pause to say I'm new to all this stuff. I'm hoping to launch this channel and share a lot of cool SEO, AI, automation stuff with you guys. If you're getting value so far, please give me a like, subscribe. Any of that stuff really helps. You don't have to, but it'd be a lot cooler if you did. So without any further ado, let's get back into this and get to the next prompt, which is going to be another Anthropic Claude prompt. Oh, sometimes I forget to change it to sonnet, so you might want to go back and check these. Yeah, haiku. We don't want haikus, we want sonnets. We on that Shakespeare tip. Okay, they're all sonnet. Max tokens, man, I really gotta one day learn what this is, so I'm not creating too much or too little. But yeah, 2,000 for now. If you know better, please do better. Don't do as I say, do as I do, whatever. Okay, the prompt now is gonna be the following. Okay, can you give me some suggestions for a way to hyperlocalize a blog post about, what do you think goes in there? Our trusty old keyword. I want to make it super specific to Fort Myers by mentioning local neighborhoods, landmarks, or things to do in that area. Now, I've hard-coded that into here just for the sake of this quick experiment, but what you really want to do is go to your Airtable probably and have a column that says location and feed that in, right? A single line text called location, create a field, and like Fort Myers. You want to pull that in. The same way we pull in keyword, you can pull in location and it'll plug that in here, right? Because you don't want to have this hard-coded. It's going to make every single one localized to Fort Myers.
In my case, that's okay because I have the one client, but you might not want to do that. So just letting you know. Then we have our usual begging it not to add introductory or conclusion text. We save, and let's do one more Anthropic Claude prompt. And this one, we want to ask it to come up with those ideas for our CEO to talk about and to give his expert opinion and really just take our content to the next level. So what prompt can we use for that? All right, I want the CEO of the plumbing company to add some quotes to share his unique expert perspective. I want to give him some potential ideas of what he could add. I'm not looking for examples of quotes, but examples of questions that only the owner of a plumbing company would be able to answer. B, tap into his specialized knowledge. And C, will prompt unique insider insights specifically about keywords, okay? So I think that's really good wording. Feel free to steal my prompt. Lesser Man would have a document with all these prompts and make you sign up to his school course for this. You can just copy all my shit. And then again, add that at the bottom so that it's not giving us superfluous gobbledygook that we don't need. All right, moment of truth. Let's try it all again. Run it once. Concern that has unsaved changes. Okay, so let's just save it then. Now can we run it? What is your problem? Okay, there we go. Let's go back to our Airtable and generate the brief and let it cook. All right, let's see the new additions. I'm not gonna go back and look through the other ones. I'm just gonna assume that it did an even better job because of our amazing prompting. But let's look at these, okay. What are the hyperlocal aspects that it added? Referencing hard water issues common in those areas, great. Drains are especially common in these older homes, true that. Beach sand from Fort Myers is going to cause havoc. I like what I'm seeing. That's perfect. That's going to do great in our brief. And then let's take a look at the questions that our CEO is going to answer. What's the most common mistake homeowners make when trying to DIY drain clean? That's good to know. Specialized tool do your plumbers use? How do you tell if a clog requires professional intervention? What's the real truth about chemical drain cleaners? I think that's an interesting one that they might know, although it's not only an expert. What's the costliest drain damage you've seen from an improper DIY attempts? That's the kind of thing I'm looking for, right? Like, you're not gonna find that online. Maybe you find that in like a Reddit, but like someone who owns a plumbing company has seen seen this has happened a million times, they're gonna have a really interesting story of like what the worst case scenario might look like. That's the unique perspective I'm trying to bring in here. So great job, Claude, Anthropic, you did awesome. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring all of this into our Google Doc template so that you have your outline and you can just create a million of these and flood your writing team with work for the next year. All right, final step here. Let's take all of our outputs and put them into a doc that we can then send to our writers. We're looking for Google Docs and show more. What we want to do is create a document from a template, okay? We need to create a connection and we need to create our doc first, right? Let's just first start with our doc. You can call it, we're gonna simplify this just to make it quick, but you can do whatever your heart desires once you understand the main concepts here. Let's add the sections that we added, right? We have the outline. We have the hyperlocal. We have the expertise section. And we'll have a place for the content to go. Let's give these some headings. And okay, so this is where we want, damn it, we just want that to be a heading, not this. This is where your outline is gonna go. Put it in a couple curly brackets and give it a name. Outline makes the most sense. Seeing what I'm doing here? This will be our title. content brief for, bet you don't know what goes here, keywords, or keyword. Okay, so do you see what's happening here? These are the placeholders. You create your own subheadings, and this is going to get populated with our content. Okay, so this will be called brief template. That's good to go. Let's also create a folder where all of these briefs are going to go, because we love organization. And if you have all of these just in a no folder, just all there, then you need to get help. That's good. This is good. Everything is good, baby, except that. Don't go there. Create a connection. Let's see. Sign in with Google. Okay, once you have connected your Google Drive profile, you'll have these options, and you want to click Create a Document from a Template. And here, just pick by drop-down. We'll choose your drive and your document ID. You can just search here for whatever you named it. Mine's brief template, so it's right there. And now you're going to see these different fields created for the variables that we created with the little, what do they call them? The little squirt curly tag things. You know what I'm talking about. Keywords is going to go in here. Outline will be this right here. If you forgot where it is, just look for this. You can kind of see the first line there. Hyperlocal, reference the hard water. That looks like hyperlocal. And then our expertise we'll put down here. Okay, so that part is complete. What else we got? A title, so we can say content brief for, let's put our keyword there again. And then finally, let's also choose our location, which is that folder you just created, and click Save. Okay, so you are good to go here. This should give us a beautiful brief now. Let's run it and see what we get. Okay, a little bubble appeared, which means we're good to go. Where is our link? It's right here. It's also in here. All went according to plan. Yes, content brief for how to unclog a drain. So here we have our outline, incredibly thorough, how to unclog a drain, understanding drain clogs, essential tools, DIY methods, unclogging specific locations, troubleshooting tricky drain clogs, and preventing future drain clogs. That is incredibly comprehensive. We have our hyperlocal suggestions that we looked at earlier, as well as our expertise. This is gonna make an incredible article. I'm so excited to see it just auto-generated. It makes me just wanna grab a plunger and start fixing drains. But I digress. Now that we have our brief created, let's do one more step, right? Because I wanna have everything contained in my dashboard, including the completed brief. I don't wanna have to keep going to Google Drive or God forbid, opening make and clicking the little bubbles. So let's just add one more module for Airtable. And this time we're gonna update a record. Choose your account. Guess you have to update permissions, which of course seems is gonna mess up my, okay, no, it didn't mess up the recording. Granted access to everything you ever create in the future for all of perpetuity. All right, my content builder base, my keyword table. Record, we're gonna do what we did in the beginning, so we should still have that this little guy. This is gonna tell us which row we wanna update. And what do we wanna update? We wanna update keywords, location. We wanna update the completed brief with the URL here, the web link view. So let's click save. And let's save it. And that's it, basically. Now, next time you go in here and you run generate brief, after a brief minute or so, you'll get a URL right here that will that will have your completed brief. So you can extend this, you can do a whole bunch of other stuff, but I hope this gives you the general idea of using a dashboard with a button that runs a webhook that then launches an automation that then uses different LLMs to create different sections of that brief. I'll probably extend this and add more bells and whistles to it in future videos. So if you liked it, I hope you will subscribe, like, comment, all that. Let me know what you want to create. And thanks so much for sticking around and watching this tutorial. Thanks.